Hello, hello, hello. Yes, Professor Tim Noakes' Facebook page was removed, and people are starting to draw it up this morning. Over the last hour, I've been looking into the Facebook statistics and what's been changing since January, and there's been I would say quite a bit that's been changing actually. With social media growing and there being more and more people that are wanting to have a say so in things and not letting people speak freely, Facebook has deleted Professor Tim Noakes' Banting 7-day like meal plan group page where he does all the science and educates people and stuff like that. At the same time, we need to understand who William Banting is. William Banting was a undertaker back in the 1800s, and he was much more than that. He's considered the father of low carb, what led to the keto movement and stuff like that. But we could go back further than that. William Banting really wasn't the father of it. I mean, I guess he's the one that adopted it, but there was a grandfather to it as well. Dr. Harvey is the one that actually inspired William Banting to come up with the low carbohydrate diet. By the time William was in his 30s, he had got up to like 202 pounds, and he just didn't feel right. He said it was hard for him to tie his shoes. He said it was hard for him to breathe right. His hearing was going, his eyesight wasn't as good. It was just a struggle in general, and he knew something was wrong even back then. This didn't feel right to him. His life wasn't the same quality that it was before. And so he sought out all these different experts and stuff like that. And, they would tell him eat less and do more. And it led to, skin growths and stuff like that that were never there before. They told him eat different types of foods and stuff of this nature and work out more. And these things just were not working for him because they eventually involved malnourishment. They involved low calorie, but not the right types of low calories. I could see if somebody wanted to be low calorie for a little bit and then cycle things in and out, but having a low carbohydrate diet, doing that, but then adding in those good quality foods back in. But that's not what happened with him. Eventually, he actually ended up going to talk to Dr. Harvey, and Dr. Harvey actually said, "Look, I want you to cut out the rice, the potatoes, the beers, the all this different type of starchy stuff, and let's see what happens." Well, he actually started losing weight. He started cutting out all the sugary, starchy stuff, and he started feeling better. And then, there were people skeptic at the time that says, well, what is there left to eat then? If you take out all the starchy stuff, I'm not going to be happy anymore then. How am I going to live? There's nothing left. Well, he said, actually, there is an abundance of food left. There is good quality meats and vegetables and some low glycemic fruits and stuff like that you can eat that will not have the same impact that all the sugary, starchy stuff, this man-made stuff, added in there as well. And you'll be completely fine. There's a plethora of food. So the more he preached this, the more people started to see that he was correct. And 1863, they released something called the Letter of Corpulence. And this was by far one of the most sought after published articles, even long after he died, that was still being published, where he talked about his experience with good quality whole food, just cutting out all the junk, starchy, sugary stuff, and how it healed, how his hearing came back, how he lost weight, how his eyesight got better, how his quality of life got better. So um, Dr. Harvey saw some success in this, but we give the benefit to this because of the letter of corpulence to William Banting. I could honestly say that I argued to the effect that if it wasn't for Dr. Harvey, William Banting wouldn't have been able to put out that letter of corpulence, but that's not what this is about. This is about the fact that social media in general is now controlling every single thing that we do. His group was removed. Over 1.65 million followers on this William Banting diet, and removed without any kind of regard for explaining to him why. What did he do wrong? Did he break some kind of law or rule or something like that? They didn't do any of that. Just deleted, gone. So now those people that used to follow him in South Africa, that used to look to him for a lot of their and if you don't know, Professor Tim Noakes was just on trial for giving some advice. This is not the exact explanation, to somebody online, and then them taking it further. Then you could look into the dietitians and stuff that were trying to report him and get him in trouble. But when it came out in the wash, he won the trial. They didn't find him at fault for anything, and they let him continue to practice freely. But now Facebook has stepped in and said, because this doesn't support standard science per se, we're going to remove your group from Facebook. And that's all that they could come up with. They didn't give him any reasons what he did wrong or none of that stuff. This is just speculation on the whole science side. And I looked up to figure out what's been going on with Facebook, why they are removing people, why they're changing the rules, the laws, and I found about 4 different articles that really hit the nail on the head. Facebook changed their algorithm. Not only did they change their algorithm on how they do things, they changed their algorithm on how people are invited to groups. They changed their algorithm on inactive people in the group. They changed their algorithm on what exactly can be posted from certain countries and stuff like that. There's a whole algorithm and control that's put into place now. They were finding that people from like Moscow and Russia and Poland and all these other areas were inciting a lot of political, medical, anti-government, anti-this agenda, and because of that, they were starting to remove posts from other countries before all this happened here in the United States. And then it got to the point where not just posts, but whole entire groups for this. So we want them to have control of things like that. So we're not anti-America, anti-Poland, anti-Russia, anti-overthrow the government, and then creating all these little organizations internally that could turn into terrorist-like schemes in the future. But when we give them the ability to do that type of stuff to protect us as a whole, we also incite the ability for them to control other aspects and areas of our life. When we invite people to groups, we used to be able to take those people, put them in a group, and they would now be part of the group, and the group total would go up. Facebook has changed that now. You can't do that. You can invite a person to the group, and they get put in a holding status, because if that person doesn't want to be in that group, and they see something that you're posting that they don't like, you should not have the ability to put them directly into the group, and then they have to be forced to see it and then figure out how to get out of the group. Now they're given a message that says, hey, you were invited to this group. This person put you here. You're in a pending status right now. You're not automatically in the group anymore. You can either accept or decline based on what you see in the group. You get a chance to view it. The creator of the group or the admin, whoever it is, can send them one more message saying, hey, look, you've been invited. Please accept or don't accept. And then you move on. So that thing has been a benefit, because what ends up happening is, say I don't like so-and-so. I don't like Frank Matthews or something like that. I give him 2 first names. And I invite Frank Matthews to the group. I can invite him to the group, put him in the group as an active member, and then mute him so he can't say anything back to the group, but I can purposely try to antagonize this guy without him being able to say anything. I can purposely put posts up and stuff to make this guy really, really, really upset in a muted fashion, and he cannot defend himself. He can't say anything on the group. The only thing that he can do is he can try to find a way out. And some of you know that if you're not very familiar with how to exit a group, it's not very easy sometimes. And Facebook is always changing the locations of where things are at. It used to be right under the picture for the group. You used to click on the down arrow or the information box, and you could go to the section that talked about exiting the group, and then you could exit the group. And then they did another update. They moved it to another location that was down in a bunch of bold drop-down words underneath the group picture. Then they did another update, and they moved it up to the top right corner in a little shield area that says now you have to scroll down there. They're constantly moving these things. And you can take somebody, you can put them in a group, and when you put them in a group, you can almost force them to see the information that you have to put out, but mute them to the point where they can't respond back. So some things that they're doing is good, but other things that they're doing is bad. Deleting whole entire groups without any warning, no nothing at all, just completely removing them from the platform. I mean, we're at a point now where everything is being controlled by social media, and that's not changing. This was projected. This was projected years ago, years and years ago, that this is where this would go. But nobody's taking heed to that information. They're so addicted to social media in general that they're not going to get off social media, and social media knows that. Social media knows that they've got complete control. Hello. They know that they've got complete control of what's going on, and people are not going to be able to bail from that. So if you look at things from a bigger picture now, because of the addiction of social media, because of how we get on here and interact so easily with our family members, our friends, our colleagues, stuff like that, and we get to be a part of each other's lives. For one, there are a number of things that happen here. We've lost control with how we communicate in relationships physically. We don't even know how to ask somebody out on a date properly anymore. We don't know how to vent in public in an appropriate fashion without offending somebody. It's either extreme or you don't say anything at all. On social media, you get to come on here and be a complete bully and just say whatever you want to people and not have to face the consequences of what's going to happen unless they show up at your door, which almost rarely never happens. We've taken to the streets in live fashion where we've actually seen people commit crimes on live Facebook. And what was it, just a couple years ago, last year or year before, there was an African American man. He had a pistol and he was driving through the streets, and he said, "Look, I'm just going to find some random person right now. I'm so upset about what my girl did." He killed his girlfriend or his wife. Then he got on the streets and started driving down the streets, and he found a homeless man or an old man that was walking with bags live on Facebook, and went right up to this man and pulled the trigger and blew his brains out and killed him. I mean, we allow this stuff to happen with no. People say they don't want sensing, they don't want control, but then when this stuff gets out of hand, all of a sudden you want sensing and you want control again. People say they don't want you to delete Facebook groups and stuff like that, but then at the same time, you have anti-military, anti-government, anti-this, anti-vegan, anti-keto, all this other stuff. You want those types of things removed, but then when it comes down to it, you want to be able to keep other things. If you're leaving things at the discretion of the creator of the media that you're using, you're leaving the complete discretion there. Um, you'll have 6,000 different ways to approach something and make something seem like it's legit, like this should happen, that shouldn't happen. Well, then somebody else comes along and has a good point and says, well, no, that should happen and this shouldn't happen. And then you got this back and forth battle all the time, and you leave it at the discretion of the person that has created the media platform to figure out what they want to do. That's why I want to, over the last few days, I've been thinking about more public doing things. I just stood right here behind me where this red truck is in the picture. There was a vegan girl. She was standing there and she had like this little vegan snack and stuff like that. And I actually came out with some bacon, and I'm eating bacon, and we're talking about vegan and keto and stuff like that. And by the time I was done talking to her, she was able to see my face, my expression, how calm my body language was, my adorable dog standing there that she wanted to pet. And she said, "You're not a bad person at all." And what I see in the vegan community is they try to make people out to look really bad to fit their cause. And she said, "I apologize for coming across as a preachy person right away." And she said, "You're actually very, very smart." And I said, "Look, there's 1,000 things we can approach this right now. You do what you do, and let me do what I do, and we'll be happy people." In the midst of doing that, if you lead by example, other people may see you leading by example and say, "You know what? I think I would like to be more like that anyway," and they'll naturally change without you being preachy to them. They'll actually be more susceptible to what you have to say because you're not forcing it down their throat. And I said, I often tell a joke in public. A vegan, a CrossFitter, and a bro muscle dude walk into a bar. The only reason I know that is because they tell everybody. And she kind of laughed a little bit, and she said, "That's true." And I said, often vegans tell people that they don't say anything because they don't want people to be judgmental of them. But actually, in public situations, I've seen more vegans. Um, you two have a great day. I've seen more vegans actually speak out about being vegan than people that say, "Oh yeah, I'm keto," or I'm low carb," or "I'm paleo." And she said, it's really true. It's social media has everything screwed up to the point where we don't know what's true and what's not anymore. And, I brought up some scientific facts. I said, well, if science agrees that spinach and almonds and all these other things are healthier for you than saturated fats and protein sources from animal products, why is it that if I look into the omega ratios of the almonds that you're eating right now, it's like 23,000 to 1, or 20,000 to like 3 parts omega-3, which is super inflammatory and super unhealthy? And she said, I never really thought about it that way. Science does say that omega-3s need to be higher. It's a very friendly omega in the diet that can be transferred into or changed into omega-6, which can be made into omega-9 as well through the combination of both and how the body does it naturally. Why, if science says saturated fats and animal products are bad for you, why are you eating something that's bad for you? If everything needs to be held into accordance with science. And she said, you know what? That's really, really true. She said, I never thought about things that way. And we stood there and we talked for about, I would say, 20, 25 minutes. It could have been the better part of 25 minutes. And by the end of it, she was like, I would love to come to a keto event if you held one. In public, it's so much different than it is on social media. On social media, you can't get the message across. They can't see your body language. They can't see what you're doing. They don't know your intent. They may think you're hostile by the words that you're saying. If I was to take those same words and put them on social media, I would have 10 different people trying to fight with me about it. But because it was in public and we got to communicate and we got to be somewhat what's the word I'm trying to say is intimate with each other in a relationship of communicating. She was very receptive to what I had to say. I covered the bioavailable form of vitamin A, retinol, which in some third world countries people were dying from, which rice had to be GMO'd, and then in some a form of retinol or vitamin A had to be put in with the rice so people could actually live and they could fix some of that vitamin A deficiency. But I said if you look at the actual bioavailable form, it has to be converted multiple times from vegetables, whereas a meat product, it doesn't have to do that. You can get it very naturally in its final form where your body can process it and actually use it. And she said, I didn't think about any of that. And I said, what vegetable has high amounts of vitamin D, unless you're looking at some kind of fungus, which doesn't have that much compared to clams or mussels or something like that, which has 40% vitamin D per serving. And she said, none that I know of. And I said, well, that's my point here. My point here is you don't do anything better than me. I don't do anything better than you. We just need to do what fits and then lead by example, and then other people will follow. So this whole social media cacophony is ridiculous, and we put everything that we have in Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Tweedler, Twatter, Twicketer, or whatever it is. You know, all these different things that keep popping up, and we have no control of what's going on. We want everything to be completely fair, but when stuff like this happens, we cry and scream about it, but yet we give them complete control of our lives. I couldn't get this message out to you right now if I didn't have some form of social media, but it just so happens that YouTube is the least of the strict standpoint that I'm seeing right now overall. At least YouTube, you can get a message across as long as you're not breaking hard laws. Where on Facebook now, they're removing complete groups, they're removing people, they're in some aspects that's a good thing, and others that's a bad thing. One of the problems that I have is the algorithm base here on YouTube. You have so many pedophiles and stuff on YouTube, and you have so many people that are interested in looking at children do things for their fantasy gain. To where if you upload certain videos in different languages, they can't pick that up. There are certain algorithms that won't pick that up. They was just talking to a social media guy the other day that promotes social media growth because I wanted to figure out how I can make my channel better. And we covered the algorithm base for YouTube. And he says there's certain like Lithuanian languages or something like that, or some other languages that the algorithm doesn't pick up, that these adults are uploading children doing yoga videos and stuff like that, and they know that they're not going to get pulled down. And what do you have a 7-year-old doing yoga in a tube top and tight pants so other pedophiles and sick people can watch them on YouTube? You can't pick up that algorithm because that language is not recognized on the platform. Or it could be downloaded from an unknown source that the algorithm doesn't pick up on YouTube. So there's a lot of things that are going on in general in the social media land that we don't like. Some are good, some are bad. Some are restrictive, some are not restrictive. And this is where this whole Facebook group from Tim Noakes comes in. I started looking more into what's going on, and he doesn't even have an answer for it. I went to the Twitter post. I went to the Banting site. I went to multiple low-carb, keto-friendly .coms to see what's going on, and I can't find any good, hard information. The speculation is, as of right now, the reason it was removed is because they're becoming so restrictive on things that are broken, things that are not followed, anti this, anti that, and they're starting to control that more and more and more. And because his group was removed, everybody thinks that it's because the ketogenic diet doesn't follow the science, because he's already made it through one lawsuit without being convicted and let go as a free man. Now the social media platforms are starting to hone in on these other things that we don't know where the money's at. We don't know if it's because politicians, big pharma, what it is. Why are these groups getting removed? Why is his group getting removed? I don't know that for sure. But this is the latest news, and this is kind of what's going on social media right now. So those of you that are wondering, what's up with that, I hope I've covered it a little bit and shared some insight with you to start thinking about things. Maybe doing less stuff on social media and more stuff in public so you can build up those communication relationships, those networking style skills, those um, the fact that we're falling apart as a human being, as a race. We don't even know how to the human race. We don't even know how to communicate and act with each other anymore because everything's based off social media. I have not lost any of my skill in public because I don't know a stranger. And if you don't know what that means, it means I'll talk to anybody. And I've built relationships up with complete strangers on the street that I talk to today that really appreciate and enjoy my information, because I'm not the type of person to put 100% of all my effort into social media. I'm starting to think about actually getting away from social media, like not completely, but just enough to stay active for people to hear my message. But I'm wanting to start focusing more on things in public, going and talking to people about health in public, at the beach, in Chicago, at restaurants, at stores, at malls, things of that nature, trying to be more of a manpower on my feet to talk about these things, because social media has such a big following in general when it comes to keto and low carb and health and nutrition. It's really hard to get anywhere because there are 10,000 people that share the same message as you. You're just a different face. But there are a lot of people that don't even know about keto and low carb and things of this nature, paleo, and because they don't care to in public until they see the right face get up in front of them and they hear the message. That's where it's at. And it's gotten to the point now where you can't do anything on social media anymore without being controlled somewhat. And people can downvote you to where you can't say something. People can upvote you to where your comments get moved all the way to the top of the post. I've seen several things on Facebook lately, in regards to removing and adding to things, is now they're giving the user the right to say something or vote something to the top of the list. If something is less popular, it gets moved to the bottom. So if a vegan ad pops up or post pops up across my screen, I can look at a keto person's comment or a carnivore person's comment, and I can upvote that comment to move to the top, and then the vegan comment gets moved to the bottom, or vice versa. So where I might have something 100% truthful to say, they're putting out something false, my comment gets moved to the bottom, and all of the stuff that pertains to the agenda, regardless if it's true or not, gets moved up to the top. So it's like you don't even have a voice anymore. People are automatically going to see, oh, he's got keto in his name. Oh, he says something about meat is good. Downvote. They don't even want to hear the message. They don't even want to hear what's in it. Just immediate downvote, moved all the way to the bottom of the comment section. So the next person that comes on here that's looking for some good quality information doesn't get to see that truthful comment. They get to see everybody else's agenda that has nothing to do with the truth in general. So there's a number of things going on right now. We're 23 minutes into this video right now. I don't want to keep you guys here for forever. I've said what I had to say. I think I pretty much covered it from a plethora of standpoints and information and stuff like that. Enough to entice you to figure out what you want to do in your journey on social media or in public. I would close this video out with saying this right here. Please focus more on your communication skills, your relationships in public physically, and not focus so much on being on social media so much. And I might even do like next month where I have like a little bit of a strike, where I have I entice a few people on my Facebook group, as well as a few people on social media, other platforms in general. Just, hey, let's take a week off social media. Let's walk away from it for an entire week and don't even post anything. Don't even come back to it. If you got to get a hold of me, here's my number. Get a hold of me here on my phone. But I will not be on Facebook, YouTube, whatever. I had one of my admins, she left. We're going to talk about religion for about, let's see, it's 24:40 right now. We're going to, not religion, but she's in a church church said, we're seeing the children too much on the phones. We're seeing the children too much on social media, and it's changing their focus in their school, in their religion, in life in general. We want to do a mass, whole entire church, social media blackout for 90 days. 90 days straight, no social media. So she came and she said, excuse me, I appreciate everything you do as the creator of this group. I want to go ahead and partake in what my church wants us to do. I don't want to go against that. And I'm going to be gone for about 90 days. She was gone for an entire year. The whole church decided to extend it, and the majority of the church followed through with complete social media blackout. Yes, I removed her for an admin because I needed an active admin, but my God, she was such a powerful person in my life in general. That was amazing that she could walk away for so long. And when she came back, she said, you would not believe the stress relief. I'm not hearing to hear people complain, cry about things, that always want answers for this and that and everything else. She said even me, it forced me to go look for more information on my own rather than going to Facebook and Twitter and everything else. I actually started going to the library and doing more research. I went to the library and looked at books. I read books. I've read things that I would have never read before because it put me in a hungry standpoint to not rely on social media anymore. And it was a huge, huge, huge major stress relief in my life in general. One entire year just gone. No social media. She said I would barely even pick up my phone to text people. And she said it was such a relief in general to be able to experience that freedom of not having to go back to my phone to check over and over and over again. She said it was unbelievable. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. We're at 27 minutes now almost. I'm going to go ahead and close this out and say appreciate all your support and stuff again. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. And if you're interested in maybe a 7-day social media blackout, I'm willing to do it. But let's do it as a team. What do you think? Get at me, guys. Thank you. Have a blessed day.